Tonight, what we're going over is the roles and responsibilities of the vice president in the chapter, which you guys have agreed to do. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go over some of the information to help you understand the role that you guys have. This is also going to be on in your dashboard. So for those of you who have accessed it, you know you have different resources back there. And once January starts, I assign you the role of vice president, and you will be able to log into your dashboard and see all of this information that pertains to your particular role. So let's talk about what the vice president does. So the vice president actually sets chapter goals. So you are going to discuss with your members the top 3 to the top 10 most wanted open categories in your chapter. That's just, you don't need to do that every single week, but maybe once a month, you guys are going to identify some industries that you're interested in having in your chapter. You're going to set goals for referrals, for increasing the members in your chapter, for outside meetings, and also for visitors. And Courtney's going to share a little bit about that with you in a few minutes. Your really biggest job in your chapter is that of a statistician. So you're going to keep the statistics for the members for all of the goals that you guys set, and you're going to have to carry that little board with you. Now, some chapters have a dry erase board, some have a chalkboard, whatever it is that your chapter uses. You're going to be responsible for taking that with you, taking it home every week, and then bringing it back. All right. And in between, you're going to fill out your spreadsheets and you're going to transfer the information from those spreadsheets to your board. So you're going to be discussing how many members, how many visitors, how many referrals, how many outside meetings. This is the Waymakers board. Okay. You can make it fancy. You can make it plain. You can make it whatever you want to, as long as you have the stats on there. And they're going to be keeping your members up to date each and every week. You keep track of all of those things, which translates into the member of the month points. So there is a document right now on your dashboard, and you can access this, but I'm also going to share a spreadsheet with you that I call really the calculator, or like a cheat sheet, and it also has those on there. So just familiarize yourself with what these point totals are. And as you collect the little blue outside meeting slips and the referral slips every week, you're going to assign these points to the activities that we are incentivizing, okay? In case of a tie for member of the month, there is a way here to figure out who the actual member is. I'm not going to go through it right now, but you have this on hand. It happens very rarely that two people actually have the same point total. So let's look at what the calculator looks like. So this is what you're going to be using to figure out who the member of the month is. So the way that this breaks down is at the top here, it's got the point totals for you. I created one that we're going to go through here in a minute, and you'll see a little bit more clearly. But you can use this online, of course. I'm old fashioned. I print mine out because I like to scribble on mine and make notes, and you can see how I actually use mine. But do what works best for you. The only thing I would say is please do make sure that you are transferring your numbers onto our spreadsheets. So I think this is the best way to do it. If you have a different way of doing it, I'm not opposed to that. But in the past, some people that figured out a way that they like to do it better, they never did get the numbers back on our spreadsheets. And I have to have those numbers because that's the only way that I know who to highlight. And it also just keeps me current with attendance and things like that that I need to stay on top of. So you're going to put the member's name here. You're going to go across. If they attended, you're going to put a slash. They get a point for that. Let's just say they visited a group. You're going to mark that for 1. You're going to go over here to the very right-hand side, and there's a total column. Now, here's the only thing you guys need to understand that's a little bit confusing at first. We keep track of referrals because we do give a person in your chapter a referral beast. We do reward the person that has passed the most referrals. However, that is not counted in the member of the month points. Okay. And remember when you guys joined, we talked about our focus in TNT is the outside meetings because we want referrals to be organic. We want them to be quality referrals. So we do not factor those numbers in to the member of the month points. However, you do need to know them because on your board, you need to have your visitors, your members, your outside meetings, and your referrals for that week. Okay. And I'm going to show you a little bit on the one that I create for training. It'll make a little bit more sense to you. So these are the spreadsheets that you are going to have available to you. And this is where you actually transfer your numbers to. Now, if you look along the bottom here, you've got tabs. This is the tab called stats. This is a reflection of your board. All right. So when you bring your board home and you go through your blue slips and your referral slips and you're doing all your tallying, you're going to go up here and you're going to add your numbers in. And that is going to be a reflection of your board that you take into your next meeting, right? It's asking for outside meetings, for referrals, and for visitors. So you're going to go in and every single week, you're going to change this number to be the current number. Now, on the bottom, we go to the membership tab. I'm looking at the Waymakers. Now, for the vice president, this is just a landing page for you. You're not going to do anything with this page, but when you click on it, you can very clearly see the names that are highlighted in green. Those are the members of the month. So you don't have to figure that out. You're going to go month by month and you're going to put your totals for every week as they happen. And our system actually figures all the totals for you. So let's take a look at this. So I'm looking at the membership tab. This is my overview. So I can see that in October, it looks like Chris Huss was the member of the month. So if I go down to October, I'm going to be able to start. You have a spreadsheet for each and every week. You don't have to worry about these two columns. That's your membership person. They're going to take attendance and they're going to document it here. Okay. This is your column. Member of the month points is the only thing that you're going to fill in here. So you're going to take the numbers that you created on your calculator and you're just going to plug them in here. Now I want to show you something that's going to happen every once in a while. In a month like October, there could be 5 days during that month that you met and not just 4. So if there are 5, you can see here for the last week, it will actually be the dates of 2 different weeks. So what you're going to do is just go in, click on this number, add your numbers together for this week and last week, and that will be the number that will be seen here, okay? Now, in this column over here, in this last little part, it figures all that up for you. So again, you don't have to go totaling anything. You don't have to use your calculator for this part. As long as you put every week's statistics in here, it figures it for you so that when you go back and click on membership, it's there. All right. Now, I'm going to switch over here to another document that I have created. And this is just kind of a test page. This is a training page for you so that it makes a little bit more sense. So I'm in the week of December 1st. This is my chapter. There's 5 of 5 people in my chapter. So let's go through them. So the first person is Dan. Every time that someone, for attendance, you're going to give every person 1 point. So the membership person takes attendance, but so do you. It's just for totally different reasons. So before a meeting starts, as you're sitting there, I would pull out your cheat sheet here, your calculator, and you should have everybody's name already written in. And you're just going to look around the room, and if they're there, you're going to mark them present. They get 1 point. Then you can do the rest later. That's just all you need to do at that moment because you need to know who was there in the meeting. So let's look at Dan. Dan was present. He turned in a blue slip that showed that he had 2 outside meetings, and he also was a sub in a group. So you get 1 point for subbing. So we're going to carry those numbers over. And while he did turn in 1 referral, that is not calculated in our total. So he has a total of 6 points. Let's look at Julie. Julie was absent. So she's going to have 0 points for that particular week. And you could put a 0 in here, or you could just put an A for absence. It's up to you. You can make this the way that you understand it best. Let's look at Dave. Dave was present. He gets 1 point for that. He is a new member. I noted over here that he's a new member. Let's say he's a new applicant. He's in his application period. That's important for you guys to know because even though he's not been inducted yet, we still need to track his activity. And the reason that we do that is because this is one of the things that we're looking at in that 45-day application period. We want to see if he's meeting with the mentor. We want to see if he came to new member training because those are red flags for me. And they should be for your membership person in your chapter. If somebody comes in and they're not participating, that's going to be a conversation to have with them, not for you, but for membership. So you need to keep track of their activity just as though they had already been inducted into your chapter. So let's look at Dave. He was there. He went out with the mentor and had an outside meeting. So there's 2 points for that. Let's just say he went and cross-networked with the mentor, so he gets a point for visiting the group. Over here, he gets 2 points for corporate training because he came to the new member training. So again, he has a total of 6 points. Okay. Let me move my things up there. All right, so let's look at Lisa. Lisa hit it out of the park. She was there. She got 1 point for attendance. She turned in a blue slip that showed she had 3 outside meetings. Since every outside meeting is 2 points, you're going to put a 6 there. Then she invited a visitor. She invited Sally. She gets 5 points for Sally being there. She also turned in 2 referrals, which is fantastic. But remember, those don't figure in the member of the month points. So when you take 1 plus 6 plus 5 plus 2, she has 12 points. Let's look at Greg. Greg was present, so he gets a point. He did 1 outside meeting, so he gets 2 points. He visited a group, and he also subbed in a group. And he happened to win the 60-second trophy or star. Now, not every chapter awards points for that, but we have a place for it because some do. So let's just say this chapter does. So he's going to get a point for that. He turned in 1 referral, but his point total is 6. Now, let me explain something to you that you're going to have come up. Some people count visiting a group and subbing in a group as the same. They get points for each one of those, or they're going to write them down as though they're 2 separate things. That is not the case. All right. This is where you have to be able to understand the outside meetings and what people are putting down and maybe what they're meaning. Okay. If you visit a group, you're a visitor. If you sub in a group, you're a sub. Okay, it's pretty clear, but you don't get both those points for going to another group and subbing. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so I just wanted to give you an example of that because that will come up, I promise you. Most people don't know. They're just writing things on their slip, and it's up to you to be able to, figure that out and break it down the way that it's supposed to be. So let's just say you have everybody calculated here. Now, what do you do with these totals? You're going to go back here to your outside meetings and you're going to add those points up, which total 14. But to find out the actual number of outside meetings held, you're going to divide that by 2 because you assigned everyone 2 points for a meeting. Okay, so the actual number of outside meetings that this chapter had that week is 7. Sally was our visitor, so we want to note that, and you should be able to go back and find that here. And then your total of referrals for that week is 4. So here's what you're taking off of this cheat sheet. You're taking the outside meeting total, you're taking 1 visitor, and you're taking 4 referrals. And that's where, when you go back here, let me go back to my spreadsheet. That's when we go back to our spreadsheet and we click on stats, we're filling those 3 numbers in right here. Okay, so we're basically doing our work and our calculations on the spreadsheet, and then we're taking those figures and we're transferring them onto the stats page here. And then you're going to go to, let's just say that's December. So we're going to go to December. We're going to go over here, member of the month points, and we're going to just whoever it is, Dave or not Sally, but Lisa, whoever it is, you're just going to put that total in there and your job's done. That's it. That's all you do for that. And that's all that it is for the stats. Okay. I am going to throw this to Courtney. Courtney is the current vice president of the Waymakers. She's been in there a year and she's going to be their vice president for next year. And she's, learned a few things from taking on that role. And so she's going to share a little bit with you, maybe some things that would help you guys to know as well, besides just doing the stats thing. So Courtney, go ahead and share what you'd like to with them.
Hey guys, I just wanted to share a couple of things from my experience as vice president, things I've kind of learned along the way or that I do in the Waymakers, and hopefully you will find this information helpful. The first one of these is to set realistic goals. So when I first came in, the goals were really, really high, and it was rather discouraging for a lot of people in the group that we never got close to our goals. So one of the first things that I did when I came in was lowered all the goals to a reasonable level for the amount of people we had in our group. Now, initially, what I did is every time we would meet our goals that we set for outside meetings, referrals, visitors, I would bring in something fun for the group, whether it's a bag of candy or one time I brought in like fun pens, something to just kind of celebrate the little victories of us meeting our goals. But eventually, we started meeting our goals every single month. So then at that point, I would increase our goals by 5 to 10, depending on the category that it was set in. So I noticed over time, people were excited to meet the goals because the goals were now reasonable for the amount of people that were in our group. And over time, people strived to meet these goals, and it came kind of a competitive, so to speak, to try to reach these goals that we had set for our group. Another thing about these numbers is you want to always keep in mind and be mindful of the ratio of outside meetings that your group is having versus referrals. Something that I noticed in my group with the Waymakers was people were so excited about meeting the outside meeting goals that they started having lots of outside meetings that weren't necessarily bleeding over into referrals. So sometimes it might be worthwhile to talk to your group about, again, making our outside meetings helpful, right? Making our outside meetings productive. Make sure that our outside meetings are meetings that are actually leading to us building relationships with one another, which are ultimately going to be leading to us trusting and referring business to one another. Another thing as vice president is you want to keep in mind when you step into that role, you may be called upon to become president for a meeting. As the second person in line, if there is a meeting where your president is not able to attend, that responsibility will fall on to you. It may be very daunting at first, so make sure that during the meetings you are just paying attention to the roles and responsibilities of president. Now, part of the presidential way that they lead the meeting is a schedule that each president will have available to them. And of course, if you lead the meeting, that schedule is available to you as well. It's very, very easy to simply follow the schedule that has been given to you. But that may be something that you guys are called to do at some point. So just be prepared, have that in mind. The last thing is in the Waymakers, something that I have done is I've taken on the responsibility of awarding, in our group, it's wrestling belts, but in other groups, it may be different types of trophies. But I award at the beginning of every month the member of the month belt and then the member of the referral beast belt. And I kind of make a big thing of it. I make it seem like a really exciting accomplishment. For those members, we take pictures so that we can post those pictures onto our Facebook page and make sure those people get recognized for their hard work. So those are a couple of things that we particularly do in the Waymakers and things that I have learned over the course of the last year. So hopefully you guys find that information helpful.
Thank you, Courtney. I would even add on that and say, you guys can ask the president to lead the chapter meeting maybe once every quarter, just so you get a feel for it when the president is there and sitting right next to you. And then if there's something that they need to interject or say, add to what you're doing, they're right there. It's a safe place. It's, you've got the person that always does it. I actually think that's a really good idea because like Courtney said, if you're having to do it when the president isn't there, it's a little bit more, it's a little harder just to get your mind wrapped around it. I can tell you from experience, I was a vice president in the originals for a year before I became president, and I really didn't think too much of it when I was given the role of president. I accepted. I was like, well, I know exactly what to do. When that's you that's actually standing there running the meeting, you start overthinking everything and we can complicate things. So I would say even, once a month, just, check with your president and say, you know what, I'd really like to lead the meeting this time. I'm sure that they will be more than happy to oblige. So that might be a good way for you to kind of, just get a little bit of a walkthrough before you actually have to do it. The other thing I will add is, by now you guys have all been in your chapters for a little while. You know that you have at least one, if not two people that are part of the membership role. Well, just know that the vice president is actually the head of that membership team. Okay. And the only time that that really matters and comes into play is if there is some kind of a dispute or some kind of an issue within your chapter, and that membership person needs to come to you for either for your feedback or for you to get involved and for your advice on it. But you are, as vice president, you are the head of membership in your chapter. Okay. You could be called upon in the event that there's something that membership cannot handle. And of course, you never in any of our chapters have to do anything without the support of the other membership of the other leadership positions. So the president, the vice president, and membership all work very closely together, but you technically are the head. And so I just want you guys to know that every now and again, something does come up and your advice, your input is needed. Okay. So that's all there is as far as your job. You're a stats person. You're just reporting the numbers, recording and reporting. That's your job. And then helping to figure out industries that your chapter is going to be interested in finding to grow. So I'm going to turn off this recording right now and bring this to an end, and I will be able to answer any questions that you guys might have.